Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneider, joined as always my co-host Nick Filato. And today we are breaking down the All-22 coaches film of the Giants offense in their week 1 loss to the Commanders. For those who are new to the show, every week we do an offensive and defensive film breakdown on YouTube. These are best watched on YouTube, but you can also listen to them on podcast. Now, please leave a like. Leave a rating and leave a like, subscribe to the podcast, leave a comment. That'll help us grow these videos and get them out to more people. Nick and I will give evaluations, we'll give observations, then a portion of the show will be dedicated to a film review analysis. In addition to that, any plays that aren't recovered in that we want to add on, we will add on later to kind of make a point or just show you some more tape of the Giants. Now, hopefully it'll be tape of wins. But today is the offense, Nick, and it does feel a lot like Groundhog Day to me, as I mentioned on last night's pod. And I'll get to this in a little bit, but I got to say, man, I felt like I was watching tape of the 2024 offense, the 2023 offense, and of the 2022 and 2021 offense at times from a quarterback standpoint. Eyes down, looking at the pass rush, misplacement on shot plays, bailing from pockets you shouldn't bail from, no hope on these 3rd and long situations. All the things that we criticize Daniel Jones for, Russell Wilson must be criticized for in this game.
Absolutely. Now, I also think if we want to speak more broadly, we should, as a fan base, accept that the Giants are a poorly coached team until proven otherwise.
Yep.
That's what we need to accept as a collective fan base. And the only way to prove that you're not a poorly coached team is to be competitive against anybody, really. I know the Washington Commanders are a good football team, but I want to see a competitive brand of football from a coaching perspective, because I just think the Giants are relying more so on the talent on their roster rather than the coaches putting everybody collectively in a more optimal position to win football games. So yeah. I'm not going to proceed anymore under the assumption that Brian Daboll may be a good coach. I'm going to proceed that he's not a good coach until he proves otherwise.
I think that's the only fair way to go about it when you watch this tape. I think it's the only fair way to go about when you evaluate the entirety of the tape as he's been head coach of this New York Giants football team. And ultimately, those 3rd down plays I talk about where there's no hope, doesn't always seem to be the case for the teams we watch on the other side of the ball. But for us, there were a few plays this week, and there were plays where Russ just put his eyes down and missed a read or missed an opportunity. There were also plays on these 3rd and longs where there was nothing open and there was nowhere to go with the football. And that seems to be all too common throughout the Brian Daboll tenure.
It does, man. It does. It's unfortunate. And again, my criticisms of Brian Daboll, it goes beyond just the scheme. It's also the preparation. It's the execution. Yes. There's still players like Theo Johnson, for instance, right? We criticized Theo Johnson last year because he was a rookie thrown into the fire, right? And he was a player who made a lot of mistakes early on. I'm watching Theo Johnson in this game. I'm like, this guy tested like sub 4.6. He does not look like that. This guy tested 99th percentile for a tight end. He does not play like that. He does not look like that at all. He's still like running into the back of blockers. He's still making these little mistakes, these little errors where I'm just like, I know the coaches can't catch the football for him, but it goes beyond that as well. It does not seem like the Giants are a well-prepared team, a well-oiled machine. It just seems like there's a lot of clunky errors and there's timing issues with this overall offense. And at some point, you have to blame the players, but you also have to blame the coaches. And that's beyond just the scheme issues that we saw on tape.
That's a great point, because we all expected, or you and I expected, if Theo Johnson was to break out this year, and he was a popular breakout pick, we both had him listed as one. It was going to be because he was playing faster and he understood the system. He didn't look like he was playing all that fast in week 1. And that's on the coaches to me. It's on them getting the players prepared. And, there's no excuse to me for, because this will be an excuse you might hear, Nick. Oh, well, guess what? He's dealing with a backup offensive lineman at left tackle. Guess what? It's Russell Wilson. He has a new system. It's his first year. You can go watch, and I did watch it for Beyond the Box Score, the Raiders film against the Patriots. That was a brand new offensive system and a brand new quarterback in Geno Smith. And they look like a well-oiled machine, chewing off chunk plays. Do you want to know why? It's because Chip Kelly is one of the best play designers in the NFL right now. And he's proven that at every single level, including last year with Ohio State. Brian Daboll is not. Brian Daboll doesn't design chunk plays like Chip Kelly can. He doesn't design an offense, and he doesn't call an offense like Chip Kelly. And I know he's not calling the offense this year. It's Kafka. But the point being, we have this whole reputation built in our minds of what Brian Daboll is, and it's all Fugazi for the most part. If you look at it, Josh Allen is a better player now than he was with Brian Daboll. Josh Allen retooled his mechanics to become the thrower that he is. That has nothing to do with Daboll and everything to do with his quarterback coach. And to be quite frank, this system that Joe Brady runs is probably better fit for Josh Allen than even the one Brian Daboll ran.
You're probably right about that. I can't really speak too much on the Bills. With that said, though, there was still some opportunities that Russell Wilson he just wasn't taking advantage of. He missed them. Darius Slayton deep, Theo Johnson deep on.
The Nabers one is the most egregious.
The Nabers one, and I want to give Kafka and Daboll some due credit there. But that's what bad football teams do. That's what poorly coached football teams do. They find a way to not take advantage of opportunities time and time again. Right. Time and time again, Dan, this happens where there might be an individual effort from Darius Slayton or Malik Nabers where they beat their defender and they're wide open deep, but the ball doesn't go their way. And at some point, you got to blame the guy in charge. And that's what we're doing here. And again, it's a collective blame, but I'm proceeding, as I said earlier, that Brian Daboll is just not a good football coach until he proves otherwise. Win some football games and score some points. 6 points after an entire summer to prepare for this defense within your division, that's inexcusable.
And he's had so much trouble throughout his coaching career against Dan Quinn and Dan Quinn defenses. It just seems to be a solver for his scheme.
And from a protection standpoint, and we'll get into the offensive line, Dan Quinn, all he had to do was run a game up front.
Yep.
Run a twist up front, run a stunt up front, switch gaps, and the Giants will not be able to pick it up, and do it in a variety of different ways. 4 rushers pretty consistently. It's not like they overwhelmed the Giants with exotic.
We had the advantage 5-on-4 and we lost.
Almost every single this offensive, and I have a hot take, Dan, I want to throw out there. This offensive line was putrid. I think John Michael Schmitz actually has an argument to be the best offensive lineman out there, and that is
him or Jermaine Illuminor. One of them.
I would say Jermaine Illuminor gets the edge slightly over John Michael Schmitz, but that is not me saying John Michael Schmitz played well. I thought he played poor. Now, the way I break it down is Jermaine Illuminor played, he was okay. John Michael Schmitz was not good, but GVR, John Runyon, and James Hudson were terrible. I would say all of them, and I don't think the PFF grades substantiate this, all of them were worse than John Michael Schmitz. Just John Michael Schmitz had 2 very bad reps that resulted in pressures, and one being a sack of Russell Wilson. But how many times is GVR going to be beat off the snap laterally through one of his shoulders, and then either Tyrone Tracy Jr. or Russell Wilson has to step up and around Javon Kinlaw, who's right in the backfield. John Runyon, again, another ineffective player out there. John Michael Schmitz, not a good player, but there was some plays through the tape where I was like, that was a solid execution by John Michael Schmitz. I could see how John Michael Schmitz was put into a bad spot, and he allowed Russell Wilson to have a chance because GVR and John Runyon really blew an assignment. So I wanted to say that just because I was very tough on John Michael Schmitz yesterday, but still, this is the player that I don't want starting. That's more of a referendum on the Giants offensive line as a whole, not John Michael Schmitz being a good football player, of course.
And I don't think it's a hot take by you. I think it's a take based on the reality of watching the film and doing what we do, spending the time to actually watch this tape. Because if you do, and the narrative is going to be what it is, that JMS is a disaster. He's got to be benched. And I agree with you. I mean, he shouldn't be starting for our team. He's not good, and he didn't have a good game. But he's that now. He holds that narrative because of the expectation that fans have for him. They don't have those same kind of expectations for GVR or Runyon, but maybe they should hold them both accountable, because GVR was a nightmare in this game. This was his worst game as a Giant by far on film, and there's a possibility that he is absolutely done as an NFL offensive lineman. I hope I'm wrong. I'm not saying that's my take anyway. I hope that's not the case. I should just say I hope he plays good against Dallas. But if he looks like he did on tape today or against Washington, against Dallas, he needs to immediately be benched. Even Evan Neal would be better than that, because you mentioned the plays where he just couldn't move laterally. There's also plays where there was one play where he was bull rushed into Tracy would have had a nice outside run. Everything else about the design of play was fine. He would have been able, but he had to redirect Tracy his path because GVR just got put on literal skates. I put it up on Twitter. Maybe this might be part of your, is this part of your film breakdown? If not, I can just show the fans.
Yeah, you bring it up right now. It doesn't really matter. We'll get into the film breakdown in a little bit, though.
Yeah, here it is. I'll do. Yeah. We're getting the film breakdown. Nick does a great job of cutting up and keeping it nice and oh, sorry, I just lost video trying to do it. Keeping it nice and clean. But I'll just show you what this looks like from this standpoint. Here's the rep I'm talking about. Let's see. Do you have this, Nick, on the screen right now?
Yeah, it's up right now.
Okay, so this is the run I was talking about, where he just like, it's literally GVR here 74, put on skates backwards. It kills Tracy's path. It just derails this chance of this play ever being good, because Tracy has to take that little step to the left, and it ruins his whole path. And these were just examples of plays where you're just like scratching your head as you watch the tape on GVR, and you're like, this guy may not be able to play at the NFL level right now.
And that's a key block too, because the Giants, they attempted their rushing attack is not all that creative. They attempted their duo approach, formed the double teams. You have the tight ends blocking, you have the right tackle, the left tackle, the backside tackle by himself. They got no push whatsoever for Tyrone Tracy Jr. Yep. It was tough to be a running back as a New York Giant in week 1 against the Washington Commanders. So then they tried to attack horizontally with some double pullers. Like that was a G lead play where they pulled the guard and the center. And you need, as the backside guard, to seal that to allow the guard. But GVR just doesn't have the lateral agility or the strength, or at least he didn't on that rep to do so. And the Giants attempted that a few different times, those types of runs to the outside with limited success. I think Tyrone Tracy Jr. had 3 separate runs that went for 6 yards, and those were the most successful runs that the New York Giants had. But from a run blocking standpoint, and just from a creativity in the rushing attack, when you watch the Giants and then you go and you watch Washington, and again, Washington have Jane Daniels, a little bit of a cheat code. It's just like night and day when it comes to
the
scheme and how much it burdens the defense.
Right.
Because to me, it just seemed like every time the Giants went to run, it was like Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu were in the gaps. Washington was gapped out. There was no push at the point of attack. Every time the Giants came off of a double team, it was like the player who was initially supposed to be double teamed on Washington would easily beat.
He would win those reps. It was crazy.
There was one good block I put on Twitter where it was GVR and JMS, where they uprooted Deron Payne. And I thought it was a very good rep by JMS to open a massive hole. But then GVR doesn't peel off and pick up Bobby Wagner.
Yep.
That could have been like a 10 to 12 yard gain, and maybe even more if Tyrone Tracy outruns the safety from the backside.
Which you've seen him do, by the way, last year on tape.
Exactly. But Wagner just gets a free shot right on Tyrone Tracy, and he still managed 6 yards out of that. And I'm like, oh, that's a good run from Tyrone Tracy Jr., but it should be more. And this is GVR not finishing the play as he's supposed to. You're supposed to peel off of that block, especially when JMS had firm grasp. He's turned his hips into the hole. It was a very well executed block by JMS, and GVR just messed it up from a climbing up to the second level and locating Bobby Wagner standpoint.
I thought that was a great, astute point you made. Every time they did run these double teams, these duo runs, it's like, well, there were moments where the lineman would peel off and try to get to the second level. And then the other lineman who was still on him, usually it was JMS or Runyon, or I'm sorry, JMS or Runyon or GVR, would then lose. After getting the help of a double team to start, he just immediately lose the rep. It was crazy.
And I just feel like, man, these defenses know what the Giants are going to do up front, right? They know the Giants want to run duo. So what happened in the first play, 1st and 10, first drive? You have a Dan Quinn. He stunts at the line of scrimmage. He doesn't twist. It's not like that kind of stunt. What I mean by stunt is they just exchange gaps. So you have the, I think it was the 4-eye technique, slant inside, and then you had the 1 technique, slant inside, and the double teams weren't properly formed. And that stunt blew up the run at the line of scrimmage, and it ended up being a 2nd and 11 where the Giants identified man coverage correctly. And this was a play that they tried to run several times whenever they had this man coverage identified pre to post snap, where it was a number 1 pick, just a quick hitch. And what I mean by number 1, that's the outside receiver in a 2x2 set. And then the number 2 receiver, the slot receiver, which was Malik Nabers several times through this game. He would run just a wheel fade around towards the sidelines, and Russ sailed it. Next thing you know, Giants are in a 3rd and 11 situation where they hit a smoke screen to Wan'Dale Robinson. And the screen wasn't terrible other than Greg Van Roten.
Sure.
Greg Van Roten, there was a pursuing defender down the line of scrimmage. Greg Van Roten decided to peel off and go behind the line of scrimmage to block another defender. And then that other defender hits Wan'Dale Robinson. It's like a 5-yard gain. But if GVR just stood by the line of scrimmage and took the pursuing defender instead of the one who was already ran himself out of the play, that could have been a first down for the New York Giants. Execution, again, is an issue with this team.
And that's, look at what we just did, Nick. We just spent 10 or 11 minutes breaking down poor execution on a variety of different plays. And that's really what it comes down to watching the Giants offense over the Brian Daboll era. There's such a lack of execution from all 11 guys on one play. Sometimes you'll have one guy rise above it, like a Malik Nabers or even a Tyrone Tracy last year. But that's what it takes to get anything going on this offense. It takes a phenomenal play by an individual, a quarterback or a running back or a receiver, to make anything happen.
And that's the point that I think we opened the show with, right? It's you're not a great coach if all you're doing is basically be like, hey, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, Malik Nabers, Tyrone, make a play for us. because they're just not optimizing the talent here.
Right.
The talent is making plays for the Giants that keep them competitive sometimes, not enough, but sometimes. But the coaches are not putting them in position to consistently do that. That is a big problem organizationally.
It's a massive problem, and it's not just the execution, it's the preparation. It's everything that goes into coaching a football team. There's just such a lackadaisical feeling around this Giants offense when I watch them. It's boring, like you said, in the run game. And they did like in the second half, they tried a few things different in the run game and got some success. So why not do that? Like Cliff Kingsbury's scheme is so multiple from a run standpoint. And you have there was one play of misdirection where Jaden Daniels kind of fakes the handoff, fakes it then and flips his body to the right. And then ultimately goes to Eckler, who comes back around the left. You see the hole and the space that creates. The Giants never have a run play, I feel like, that creates immediate space for the running back.
No, not often. But I mean, when you have a guy like Jane Daniels, who is with Jane Daniels, he forces, and we'll talk about this a lot.
That's part of
forces too high, and also how Cliff Kingsbury uses the mesh point. It's going to keep those backside defenders just in place, and that's how they exploited Abdul Carter. Exploited is not the right word. They kept Abdul Carter in place and hindered his effectiveness by keeping him unblocked while running mesh point plays, while running zone reads and RPOs and things like that. Mostly zone reads. So you don't even have to block him. That's one way you can eliminate Abdul Carter's skill set is don't block him and just make him be patient and make him wait and make him deliberately hesitate. And whatever choice he makes, you make him pay. It's putting a defender in conflict. It was an excellent game plan by Cliff Kingsbury. We'll get into that in the next episode. But some of the second half adjustments the Giants did have from a run game standpoint, they tried that pistol crack toss play, but Washington was just on top of it. It was another bad execution play. Run to the outside, but Tyrone Tracy Jr. ended up picking up 6 yards. And then they tried GC counter, the play side guard in the center, you call it G lead, whatever you want to call it. And that was the one I think we just played where it ended up being a loss because GVR got pushed so far back. So it was like the Giants try to change things up, try to throw some curveballs and make adjustments, but it doesn't seem like it really matters all that much because again, the linebackers and those second level defenders were very much on top of the run game for the New York Giants, and they were quick to fit. And that's coupled with the fact that the Giants were not generating any push at the point of attack, dude.
None. And we didn't speak a lot about him, but one of the nightmares for me is just looking at this John Runyon situation because the Giants signed him in free agency. That's another Joe Schoen move. And the thing that I don't like about Joe Schoen the most is when he makes his declarations like his signing of Runyon or his investment in Evan Neal or whatever it may be, he then like pencils it in. He's very like by the books with his roster management, his roster construction. It's like, okay, so he goes into this offseason like, well, we do have GVR. I signed him. He's making money. We're putting him here. Evan Neal is my 7th pick. He'll compete for guard. And then it just leaves no room for competition at all. And it doesn't really evaluate what matters. Like we'll talk about this more in the next episode, but he talked about this in the offseason, Joe Schoen. He's like, well, we wanted to kind of attempt to upgrade the offensive line, but there was really only one lineman we liked, Will Fries. He was too expensive. So we said, oh, look at this value hanging around free agency. And we signed Javon Holland. On paper, it seemed like a good move. Will it prove to be? Time will tell. But Javon Holland was not a difference maker in that game, and he did not live up to his contract. And the supposed value that was just hanging around free agency 2 days into free agency didn't look like a value. It looked more like other teams had better tape on and a better feel on the tape. And we may have just been like, it's hanging around. We got some extra money. Let's do something splashy to make the fans excited. And that's how I feel about Joe Schoen a lot through his tenure. I'm losing a ton of steam and faith in this guy. Yeah. We'll talk about this more on another show. But the Daboll versus Schoen thing, I agree. They equal blame, whatever you want to do. People are like, you're not blaming Daboll enough. You're blah, blah, blah. That's fine. I'll blame them both equal. But the difference for me, Nick, is Daboll can be fired and we'll have a new coach in here. Schoen's impact is lasting. What he does and the decisions he makes impacts us years down the line. Daboll can go and that will be a clean break. And that's why I'm more nervous about the Schoen impact and why it's always ultimately going to be more impactful if a GM is bad than a coach is bad.
It's incredibly put. And it's 100% accurate as well. One more thing on the rushing attack. I think the Giants' best run of the game was the 2nd and 9, 12:33 left. And the Giants did this a few times where they attempted to run the football on 2nd and long, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11. And it just
run. Is that the one you're talking about?
It's the Devin Singletary pistol run. And it ended up going for 8 yards. Other than the Russell Wilson run, I think it was the longest run of the game. And it was just split zone and a good cutback by Singletary. Not like an excellent one. The hole was there. But Daniel Bellinger was the sniffer on that play. He was the split tight end, the H-back, whatever you want to call him, who came across a formation and just threw one hell of a block on on Dietrich Wise to put him in place. I thought he might have hurt Dietrich Wise on it because he went low at the knees, but it was just a simple split zone run, and Singletary took it for 8 yards, but that was your best run at that point. And it's just the Giants could get nothing going on the ground from
Is that in your play breakdown? Because I have it otherwise to show them.
I don't believe so, no. But
okay.
We can pull it up if you want to. And it's just I thought Bellinger had a very underrated game. He was the tight end who came up with the catch late in the game that almost went for a touchdown, showing off his hands and everything. And there were a couple blocks like this as well. It's just the Theo Johnson thing. That's devastating too, because I have a ton of egg on my face with that one. If he plays like this again.
Well, let's give him some time. Theo Johnson, is it running right now?
Yeah, it's running at the moment.
I'll be honest with you, Nick, and go ahead, Nick.
No, you're going to see Daniel Bellinger come right across the formation again and throw that block. That's perfect. And James Hudson does a good enough job to hold the defender, and that ends up being an 8-yard gain.
Hudson does an even better job on this. How big this play could have been.
Yeah, he got sucked way too far into the inside. But Bellinger threw such a good
rep.
Yeah, Bellinger threw. We'll run it one more time. Or however many other times. Bellinger threw such a good block that there was just a wide open and good vision by Singletary to hit that, right? Everybody blocks down. That's good blocking at the point of attack for the way because Washington was stepping towards the right. Like you see Washington stepping towards the right. And maybe this is something the Giants can keep in the back of their minds, because it seems like most of the Giants' successful runs were at a pistol. They don't know exactly where he's going. And you could see how Singletary opens up to the right of Russell Wilson, and that gets Washington's defense to go to the right, and then Singletary bounced it back to the left. And that's what I think. That's one of the reasons why Washington was not in position to execute that, and also this block by Daniel Bellinger that you're watching right now.
Yep. And speaking of what you just mentioned a few seconds ago, Nick, I felt like Washington was very in tune with what the Giants want to do in the run game. So maybe this is a possibility, and I'm definitely open to this idea of running more pistol, running more gun runs in week 2 and moving forward to kind of give us more diversity. There was one play where the Washington was so in tune with what the Giants were going to do as a run to the left that Washington's linebackers took a snap just before the snap, cheated over to the right, and then had basically a free lane toward the running back for no gain or a loss of yards. There are also 2 reps, dude. Like if you look at the Cam Scatterbu touchdown run, if Marcus Bowe executes on that play, it's a touchdown, but Marcus Bowe can't reach, and the D lineman takes a nice step toward the inside just before the snap, which doesn't give Bowe a chance to get out there and reach block. But if he makes that block, it's a touchdown. There was another play later in the game where Chris Manhertz doesn't execute just one block. It's always just one block with these guys. There was one with Illuminor, there was one with Manhertz, and it's like if they just make that one execution, just one guy executing, it could be such a different outcome. But we're not the team that does that. The good running teams have everyone executing.
With fall grilling right around the corner and Labor Day just behind us, I've been thinking about all those end of summer cookouts. There's nothing like the smell of a grill firing up with all your friends surrounding you. Personally, I fired up Omaha Steaks last weekend, and it was a total home run. From handcrafted steaks to juicy burgers, deli-style franks, meaty chicken wings, and more, Omaha Steaks really delivers the world's best steak experience. During their current sale, you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. And our listeners get an extra $35 off with promo code BANTER at checkout. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917. Family owned for over 100 years, and every bite is backed by a 100% guarantee. Whether it's Saturday or Sunday, or just a weeknight dinner, it's the perfect way to celebrate with unbeatable flavor and convenience. Get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Labor Day sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code BANTER at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code BANTER. Go to omahasteaks.com to get 50% off site-wide during their current sale and use promo code BANTER to check out for an extra $35 off. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details. Big thanks to our advertiser, Omaha Steaks. I've been wearing underwear every day for years, mostly, but I've never really felt like I found the one, Either it rides up, punches, or just feels off. So when I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was honestly pretty excited. I tried their cotton 5-inch boxer briefs, and wow, they're a game changer. They hit perfectly at the thigh and actually stay there. No bagging, no wedgies by 5 o'clock, just pure comfort. And for the gym, the Stretch 5-inch boxer briefs are amazing. They move with you as you work out. They keep your shape, your form, and they do not ride up. If you want to feel comfortable, confident, and actually enjoy your underwear, shop Skims Men at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show, Big Blue Banter, in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched a big holiday sale. So go to skims.com and check them out.
All right, Nick, I mentioned earlier that it was in a lot of ways like Groundhog Day for me with the 4 things I brought up about the Giants passing attack. A quarterback who drops his eyes and bails from pockets I don't think he should. A quarterback who can't see the middle of the field. A quarterback who missed a big shot downfield, man. That Nabers underthrown target should have been a touchdown. It was supposed to be the moon ball we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
In addition to a couple others that I thought were underthrown, one to the Nabers on the right sideline. And then also a quarterback who, what was the final thing I mentioned? Oh, just no hope when we get into these 3rd and long situations. So passing attack wise, what did you see? Where are you lying most of the blame, or is it just a collective blame?
I mean, it's always going to be a collective blame, but Russell Wilson was poor. The pass protection could not pick up simple stunts in games, as we said. It seemed like the Commanders and Dan Quinn. That's something that I remember Dan Quinn doing when he was with Dallas, and the Giants couldn't handle it. Like Dan Quinn, as you said earlier, owns Brian Daboll in these types of situations, and it's just a variety of different 4-man rushes where they just switch their original path, and the Giants just don't seem to understand or know exactly where people are going, and they're just, or TE, ET, whatever it is. It seems like the guards or whoever is getting hammered by the penetrator, they're always taken off guard, and there's no smooth transition, right? Like the offensive line in general is out of sync.
I'll say one thing on that, one small pushback. I didn't think that was the case in our first 5 or 6 games last year. I thought we made some serious progress when it came to picking up stunts. It feels like there's been just a major regression on that front.
I agree. I also, I'd say James Hudson in the right side of the line.
Yeah, he hurts things.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit worse than the left side, where I also think Runyon wasn't too particularly great at this either.
Yeah.
Neither was Greg Van Roten. John Michael Schmitz, I felt like he had a couple nice pickups, but it wasn't perfect. And I think the one sack was surrendered, and it was probably attributed to JMS, so it wasn't great. But overall, man, it was a collective failure by the offensive line, Carmen Brasillo, the overall protection package in general. When it comes to the passing attack, everything's outside the numbers, man. There really is not a lot over the middle of the field. The only play that was over the middle of the field was the Daniel Bellinger catch towards the end of the past 10 yards towards the end of the game. You had a couple like Wan'Dale Robinson, number 2 slants inside, where I felt like Russell Wilson did a good job diagnosing pre-snap and then seeing the rotation and then firing, getting the football out of his hands. You still saw that from Russell Wilson, but if it wasn't the first read, that's when you saw him panic a little bit, especially after he started taking hits, man. He took like 4 or 5 big hits in this game, and I want to give him credit for being tough and standing in the pocket and absorbing that contact, but he allowed that to affect him in subsequent plays because he just did not trust his protection. Rightfully so, but sometimes you just got to stand there, because there were times where if he just stood in the pocket a little bit longer instead of bailing when the pocket was relatively intact. It wasn't like the pocket was relatively intact, and that's why I don't think the pass protection was maybe as bad as I did prior to watching the All-22. I still think it was really
100%.
I still think it was really bad. Like, I'm still gonna have a really low grade in the superlative section on it, but it wasn't as egregious. It's just really frustrating because it's 4-man rushes the Giants can't pick up, but there were still pockets that were intact that Russell Wilson was bailing at him. And then you see Darius Slayton open downfield, and you're like, a lot of people are giving Slayton shit on Twitter because he didn't do anything in this game, but it's like there were times where he was open though, and it's just the ball didn't come out of Russell Wilson's hands, nor did Russ even realize it. So the man coverage, when the Giants knew it was man coverage, they had a lot of man beaters. It's the same stuff that we've been seeing. We saw a lot of, I think the success that the Giants tried to lean on in the second half was those slot fades. And that's something that we saw with Daniel Jones when he was the quarterback, right? If it's man coverage, slot fade, put Malik Nabers in the slot. Let's try to hit the slot fade. And they had some success doing that. They had Wan'Dale in the slot as well. But overall, it's kind of a similar type of approach that we saw under Brian Daboll when Brian Daboll was calling plays. It wasn't all that novel or anything. And when they got in the red zone, there were opportunities there. I'll give Kafka some credit. There were opportunities. Execution was not there. And we'll go through some of those plays in a little bit too, because I have a lot of those cut up.
Yeah, I have pretty similar thoughts to you when it came to the passing game and the execution. I thought Russell bailed from pockets he shouldn't have bailed from, specifically the one where Darius Slayton had a real opportunity for a go ball touchdown late in the game. That's probably in your play review. If not, I'll run it later so that people can see it. But to me, there was no reason to bail the pocket. Someone on Twitter was like, "What? I don't know. Looks like the interior is getting pushed back into him." No, it wasn't. Go rewatch that play. I put it on my Twitter. The interior was fine on that play. James Hudson, for the most part, was the only possible pressure, but he was fine on that play too. Russ just needs to reset that pocket. And there's just multiple times where Russ, instead of resetting the pocket and moving back or finding a way to create space for himself, just leans up and into it. And it looked a lot of times like he's just looking for a rushing lane, and there's no rushing lane there. And that killed him in multiple spots. There's also times where I just thought what you said is so true, where he looks for his first read, and that was it. It was that or the eyes down bail, look for the running lane. Eerily similar to the Daniel Jones experience. And there were multiple times where Wan'Dale Robinson was in breaking on the middle of the field, and there's space, and Russ just doesn't even look his way. And I'm just standing there, and I'm sitting there watching this tape and thinking, this is just like it was watching our last quarterback. But this is not an issue in this specific example with the play design, because the receiver is open on the backside of the play. This is an issue with, and it's not an issue with the pass protection, because it was fine, like you said, on those pockets. It's an issue with the quarterback. It's simply put, when the protection is fine and the backside and the first read is not open, but there is another read open, that's on the quarterback. There's nobody else to blame for that but the quarterback. And he deserves the blame for that. And I thought he played terrible in this game, in addition to the one pass where he did what we'd hoped for, Nick. Like the whole offseason, I was like, watching that Steelers tape, the one thing I know we're going to get is Russ diagnosing pre-snap where the safeties are and being able to take that quick drop fire to a one-on-one route. And he had Nabers, dude. All he had to do was lead him, do a normal Russ moonball. And what did we get? A flat ball that was underthrown, and Nabers couldn't come down with it. That was a touchdown that he took off the board individually, in my opinion, as a quarterback. There was no pressure. It's a 3-step drop and fire. And just those types of mis-executions by Russ, I just wasn't expecting to see, to be completely honest with you, Nick. I didn't think he was a great quarterback. I never said that, but I thought he was like average to just below average and a lot better than what we had. I don't even know if he is at this point.
Which is saying a lot too, given what we've said in the past. I would like to think that they're going to hit on some of these eventually.
Yeah.
But again, I can't proceed assuming that, because I'm not going to, because I haven't seen it. And this is the 4th year of Brian Daboll, right? We had 2022 where, before everybody got his film with the Giants offense, he was able to have some success offensively, and the Giants were opportunistic. But right now, I'm looking at it. It's just like, I'm not going to proceed thinking that, oh, maybe it will happen. Let's see it happen. All right, of course, right? The plays in the red zone were just frustrating though too, man. And again, it wasn't all Kafka. I'm not going to sit here and just blame Kafka. I know that's the easy thing to do, because I think there were opportunities. I think Washington also, I want to give them credit. I think they played the Giants well. It's like the Giants had a chess move and like, haha, I stole this pawn, and then they just come in with their queen and just knock our rook off, or whatever the hell we stole the pawn with, right? They just had superior moves with, I don't even know if superior pieces is the right way to say it, but superior pieces with the coaching staff. At least they had superior moves to take advantage of any kind of terrible curveball the Giants tried to throw at Washington. They had the answers to the test. That's because they've seen Brian Daboll several times. They've seen this team several times. This team does not win divisional games, Dan. They do not win. They don't even score against divisional opponents. That's terrible, dude, because those teams know the Giants so well, and the Giants should know them so well. But obviously the Giants don't, because they don't score, or they're not even competitive against the Cowboys, Philadelphia, or Washington now.
That's actually a really excellent point you just made, Nick, about why Daboll's scheme is more to blame and Daboll's coaching is more to blame than even we've credited. Because we're not scoring or moving the ball against divisional opponents, that proves and shows how bad his scheme actually is, because these are the ones who have seen it the most, these divisional opponents. These are the ones who are taking the most advantage of how expected it is. And that's definitely true. But I also think part of the problem is, man, like we'll get into this next pod, but like I'm watching Jaden Daniels, and I'm watching two things, Nick. I'm watching one, him come off the play side super fast to the backside. And then ultimately at times, like there was one play where he came off the play side super fast, went to the backside. It wasn't there, broke pocket, kept his eyes downfield, and then ripped one to Debo for a solution, like the 3rd or 4th read within the progression. But then I watch Russ, and it's like First read is not there. And that's what you just mentioned a few seconds ago, Nick. You're like, we're not finding the solutions, but it has to sometimes be on the quarterback to find the solutions. Like if the coach can't find the solution with the first read, then the quarterback has to find the solution. And we just don't have quarterbacks. We haven't had quarterbacks who can do that. Jones couldn't do that, and with us at least, and Russ couldn't do that yesterday. And when you don't have a quarterback who can find a solution like Jaden did, it's just really hard to win. You put so much on the coaches.
Exactly. And so much of this offense was just either attack vertically up the numbers or attack outside the numbers to the flat. And it just seemed like Washington was privy to that. They were aware of that. And it's not like Russ is going to break pocket too often and be fleet of foot and make the defense pay for not containing him.
Right.
Whereas Jaden certainly did several times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Should we get into some of these plays?
Yeah, let's break down some plays.
Yeah, well, we'll do that. Let's get into this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to bring this over. All right. So this first one is actually a positive play, Love to see it. And it's just a 3rd and 4 conversion by Russell Wilson. I felt like this ball placement, this play in general, from a design standpoint and from an execution standpoint, when it comes to Russell Wilson, it was well done. This is 3rd and 4, quarter 1, 6:07 left. Russell Wilson just catches the football, turns, and then that's a perfectly placed ball to Wan'Dale Robinson, who motions from a 3x1 nub set to the nub side, meaning the nub is the tight end that is attached to the line of scrimmage. He motions as the number 3 over to be the number 1. And then at the snap, you could see there is distance between Wan'Dale Robinson and the defender who came over with Wan'Dale Robinson. And Wan'Dale Robinson is able to eat into that cushion, get that defender to expand, and then just stay flat along the line. And then I felt like Wan'Dale did an excellent job to secure the football that was well placed by Russell Wilson and then stretch over the pylon to get the first down.
It was a great rip by Russ, great ball placement, great everything around. This is what great execution looks like. It's rare for us, but this is what it looked like. And also good velocity from Russ, I thought, on this one. And good anticipation as well. But you know what the one thing is, and I'm curious if you saw, I know you saw this too, but there was a play very similar to this later in the game where Russ had Wan'Dale and he just didn't trust it and he didn't throw it with anticipation. I think he ended up taking a sack on it, which I found very confusing later in the game.
We might see that in a little bit. And JMS does not do a great job. You can see up front handling John Runyon, passing that off. But Russ, good job of getting this through the trees. You can see people jumping up. And that's well-placed football. Yeah, it's one of the better reps by the New York Giants, unfortunately.
And even then, we can't have perfect execution. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. Next one I want to highlight, 2nd and 4, 4:50 left in the first quarter. Love this adjustment, this approach by Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll. You're going to go out with 11 personnel, but instead of having Tyrone Tracy Jr. in the backfield, you're going to put Wan'Dale Robinson in the backfield with a little bit of a split, and he's going to get isolated against Frankie Luvu, again in man coverage. So you can see Luvu try to get out there. He misses the tackle. Frank Luvu's a good linebacker, but Wan'Dale Robinson is very quick. And I felt like Wan'Dale Robinson looked good in this game from a quickness perspective, from that explosiveness perspective. But this is just simple. Get the football out of your hands, especially if your offensive line's not blocking well. Get Wan'Dale Robinson in space. Have 2 blockers, one being Theo Johnson out there. Tyrone Tracy Jr. does a good job blocking. Ends up getting this first down. It was a well-designed play by Mike Kafka, and the execution, again, was of high quality from the New York Giants.
Yep, agreed.
Yep. Now, the next one is a 1st and 10, 4:04 left in the first quarter. This is the Malik Nabers play. This is on that same drive. I love this Cam Scadaboo with the pass protection. Malik Nabers is a dirty route. Get Malik Nabers one-on-one, have him isolated, give him space. He's going to be able to do this. And I want to give Daboll and Kafka credit here again. And everything that Dan and I said earlier stands, but it's not like they're inept and they don't know football. They're going to have their wins, right, ladies and gentlemen? So moving Malik Nabers in this 12 personnel package to the other wide receiver side, getting him stacked behind, and then also bringing the defender over. He's not set. So now you can see number 20, that defensive player who's at the 0 on the 50, the top of the numbers. He is put in this place where he has to backpedal. He has to gain depth. He has to gain width. He doesn't know where Malik Nabers is going. This is great isolation pre to post snap by the New York Giants coaching staff. And then you get this poor defender in a situation where he has to guard this. That's a tough assignment. And I feel Malik Nabers did an excellent job here, Dan. Stemming at the top, going inward, and then breaking outward. And look, he breaks outward at the numbers. So he has all the space in the world with no defenders around him to get from the numbers to the sidelines. Russ does a good job from the far hash delivering the football, and it ends up being a first down.
Yeah, you covered it all there, but definitely love the incorporation of pre-snap motion, which I actually think we did a pretty decent job of in this game, specifically Nabers and pre-snap motion. And the route is really the big sell for me here. Nabers creates a lot of separation at the top of that route.
Yeah, because at this point, even though it's early, we still saw 2 sets of eyeballs on Malik Nabers. Like they were guarding him inward, out, over top, trail. Like they were really trying to contain Malik Nabers. So you get him on the move like this, and then you have that, because this is a blitz. You have Cam Scatterbo just pick up number 18, a nice physical pass protection. He had another play a little bit later where he just runs over a cornerback, and I'm like, dude, Cam Scatterbo.
That's a big deal, by the way, because we talked all offseason about concerns we had in pass protection, and for him to come out on his first pass protection rep and show out like that, it's a really good sign.
100%. This is an inverted cover 2, 3rd and 6 with 1:54 left in quarter 1. You're going to see Russell Wilson. This is a 2x2 set, 11 personnel, and Russell Wilson diagnoses the inverted cover 2 quickly and gets the football out to Wan'Dale Robinson. You can see how that slot defender over Wan'Dale Robinson, he assumes a deep half responsibility. The middle of the field closed safety pre-snap drops down to basically like a Tampa 2 middle hook look, and it's diagnosed quickly by Russ. Russ fires the football, gets it to Wan'Dale Robinson, and moves the chains. Another quality play by Russell Wilson here early in the football game before he really ended up getting rattled.
And these are moments where it's like, okay, look, the timing's great. The anticipation's great. We're finally seeing some rhythm in the pass game. It just was few and far in between.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm including some of these positive plays deliberately, not to be a homer, just to show like there were some signs. It wasn't like it was complete ineptitude. I would say overall it was, because the Giants, we saw the end result. They scored 6 freaking points, but they were at least moving the football to some degree. Here's this first thing. I like this play, but it's just, again, the execution by Washington is elite, because you have this. Yeah, man. But you have the 12 personnel. You motion Malik Nabers to the field side, and you go into this fake handoff. But Washington doesn't really take the cheese. Malik Nabers is going to be just a quick little smoke screen to him, and they're just not biting it because they have so much attention on Malik Nabers. They tackle him at the line of scrimmage. I like the idea, but it's tough.
I like this idea better as an out route, for a quick out for Malik Nabers. Get him moving toward the sideline and allow him to get the ball in that direction rather than stop, come back toward the quarterback, kill his momentum, because you can allow the DB to break like vertically in that way.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think that's a great point, because if Malik Nabers instead just flattened his route and started heading towards the sideline, you have Darius Slayton clearing out the other DB. Now that defensive back needs to close on that hip. Malik can catch it, turn up field, and the angle could be broken by that defensive player. I 100%. They wanted to get a screen going though, and the screen game was just off in this affair.
Yeah, it's also hard to run a screen, in my opinion, here, where you're expecting like a Luminor to block down and then come back off that unblocked edge.
Yeah, and you can see he blocks down, but both of the defenders end up just being unblocked at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah, GVR is just in space. It's tough.
There are so many times we watch these Giants game plays on All-22, and it's just like random linemen moving in space into nothing. It's so sad.
Yeah, you're just like, wait, dude. There was one play in the run game that I was laughing. I didn't include it, but it was a backside run blocking from I think it was James Hudson and John Runyon, where they were cutting the backside defenders on a crack toss to the outside, and both of them went to go cut, and they just missed, and they were both laying there at the same time. It was such a defeated look. Oh man, I was laughing when I was watching that. That's terrible. So, well, what a microcosm of the performance, right? But here's the Theo Johnson play again. We saw similar plays like this in 2022 with Daniel Jones. You're gonna have Theo Johnson attached. You motion Wan'Dale Robinson outside of Malik Nabers. Now you have Malik Nabers in the slot to the boundary side with the running back on that same side. You enter the mesh point to get defensive flow towards Tyrone Tracy Jr. And now you have that 2v1 against the defender who is unblocked. You don't have to block him with Theo Johnson and Russell Wilson. The defender plays it well when it comes to being conservative and honing in on the quarterback. So Russell Wilson gets rid of the football. And is it the best pass? No, I kind of wish it was a little bit tighter, but this is a catchable ball. This is something that Theo Johnson should secure, and it might go for a touchdown. It's just going to be him and that defensive back over there. So I think this is a well-designed play, because the Giants took advantage of the fact that there's going to be attention on Malik Nabers to this play side. And you could see the attention on Malik Nabers, right? And now you have Theo Johnson from the numbers to the sideline with a blocker out in front, and he just drops the football.
And I'll stay consistent with my analysis, Nick, as I always promised I would. I know this is a drop, and I would want Theo Johnson to catch this, but I don't like this. I don't think this is a good throw from Russell Wilson, personally. I think it comes out too hot and too flat. And I honestly think if Jackson Dart was the quarterback, as we saw in the preseason with some of his throws from weird arm angles, from unique arm angles when he had to get it over an end, he would have put good touch on it, and it would have been completion.
I agree. So here we have, I believe this is Or no, yeah, the next play was the 3rd and goal where Nabers, he was a field side plus split single inside leverage. But yeah, this is the 4th and 2, right?
Yeah, I thought this play design was terrible on the 4th and 2.
Yeah, this is the first play of
we got the lucky penalty that saved us on this one.
We got the lucky penalty. First play of the second quarter.
Goal from the 1.
Dude, I feel like that's the way it's been for so long, right? And you can see the Giants, man, they're kind of just scrambling right here.
Yes.
Russell Wilson, I think he wanted to get Theo Johnson to the flat or Malik Nabers because they thought that there would be a bunch of attention on Malik Nabers. There was, but Washington, they're just a spatially aware defense.
Yeah.
There's really no one open here for Russell Wilson to get the football to. Like everybody
solved this one
pretty well covered. And the Giants, as you said, got lucky because of the hands of the face against Jermaine Illuminor. So surely they'll score right on the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
You have to imagine. But here's the end zone angle of this play. You can see the hands of the face there.
Play side was taken away. And he actually goes through his progressions well on this. There's nothing open.
No, really. And he delivers I don't know, catch. I mean, for Malik Nabers, you could say that's a catchable ball, but he gets it past this defender and hits Malik Nabers in the hand. That's a very tough play to make, of course.
Yeah.
And here's where Cam Scadaboo concusses. This is
the one I was talking about here. If Bo makes this, or is this the one?
Yeah. Well, Bo gets taken out by Cam Scadaboo. And this could be a touchdown if Marcus Bo just isn't in the way.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because he's the big offensive lineman. He's the extra package here. And he tries to block 92.
That's what I mean. If he just blocks down 92, this is a touchdown.
This has been an issue for the Giants all game.
Yes.
Like the quickness and the penetration. It was like they knew the cadence of the New York.
They knew great point, dude. That's exactly how I felt. I felt like the late I don't know if the word is rotation. I guess it might be rotations from the down lineman toward the play where the play was being run. And at times, even from the second level, like the play I mentioned earlier on this pod from the 2 linebackers, it was like they knew exactly what was coming and when the snap was coming.
Yeah, it was like that all game.
What is that? Just bad coaching.
I think the Giants might just be predictable. I don't know.
Or that's coaching.
Yeah, of course. But, oh, gosh, that's a rough play to watch, too. Luckily, Marcus Bo was okay.
Narrative, Nick, of like, I think the Giants, and you're right, by the way, I think the Giants might be predictable. We have a brand new quarterback. We're not supposed to be predictable again. We're supposed to have some kind of nuance to what we're doing.
I know, man. And here's a 3rd and 2, right? This is your, 5th opportunity from like this area of the field to get 1 yard, 2 yards here because they just lost one. But this is a designed pick play for Tyrone Tracy Jr. that Bobby Wagner undercuts and eliminates. You have the motion with Darius Slayton. That's supposed to be eye candy. Brings Mike Sanders still up over the top. I like how they also bring Tyrone Tracy Jr. to just create traffic to get a lot of eyes on the mesh point and to force some hesitation from Washington's defenders. But Russell Wilson, he gets it, and he's supposed to have Tyrone Tracy Jr., but look how well covered that is by Bobby Wagner. They just
solved this play. It's crazy. Some of these plays, man, they just have the solution for immediately.
Yeah. And people were like, throw it to Darius Slayton. It's like, but this is a design play to Tyrone Tracy Jr. Like Darius Slayton's not even in the progression of this. This is supposed to be a quick boom, boom type of hitter. And if Tracy is covered as he is, Manhurts should be open. And Manhurts is kind of open, but there's a lot of traffic there. And then Theo Johnson is just setting the pick and not turning around at all. I would like Theo Johnson to be a little bit more aware and understand, like, hey, I could turn around right now. The pick is already not set, but like I tried to set it. Why don't you turn around and put your 6'6" body right on that goal line and present a target for your quarterback? But he doesn't. He just gets in the way of the passing lane for Chris Manhurts. Little things like this are the stuff that I'm talking about when it comes to Theo Johnson. I don't know if he's a good football player. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he is a good football player. I think he's a good athlete who's not a great athlete, but tested like a great athlete.
Yeah.
And this is just based off of what I've seen. He's still young. I still think there could be a good football player in there, but he makes like silly little mistakes like this. He made them all throughout last year. He started coming along, took the foot injury. And then in this game, there were a couple just instances like this that are just like, well, what are you doing? Why are you just sitting there just looking? Turn around. You could still be an eligible target. You were an eligible target on this play. You're off the line of scrimmage. It's not like you're on the line of scrimmage and covered. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're saying here. It's not good.
But so we'll move on. This is the 3rd and 9 sack. 3rd and 9 sack that Russell Wilson suffered. Quarter 2, 2:52 left. Just a 4-man rush, and you can see just easy pressure, man. Easy pressure.
Yeah, this is one of the most.
The Giants. And again, like Russ drops his eyes, but at this point, it's like he sees like what happens. And this is a well-executed play because you have Frankie Louvu split out wide of James Hudson with a 5 technique, Dorrance Armstrong over the top of James Hudson, and they bring Frankie Louvu all the way around to the opposite A gap. That is a well-designed 4-man game that is difficult to pick up, because you could see how John Runyon gets eliminated by Daron Payne. And I think this is a solid enough play by John Michael Schmitz to just open his hips and eliminate Frankie Louvu. Like, that's a good blitz pickup by John Michael Schmitz. But Runyon had no idea.
Hold up. Yep.
Well, he doesn't hold up. And this is, again, credit to Dan Quinn. Like, he doesn't know Daron Payne's coming from the 4-eye technique on the other side of the line of scrimmage. He's paying attention to not just 92, who's his first threat, but then he has to pay attention to Louvu looping around.
Yes, so, and GVR has no clue Louvu's going to be in on this play either, because you can see what he does.
And like JMS opens to his right, to the left of the screen, right? So John Runyon's thinking, I gotta account for Frankie Louvu, and then you just have Daron Payne right up on you. Like, that's a tough assignment for John Runyon. But again, it's just like the Giants were not prepared for these types of twists and these types of games from this formation. And Dan Quinn is just toying with them with 4-man pressure packages. It's crazy.
And you could just see how easily Daron Payne deals with John Runyon.
Yeah,
it's really frustrating to me just how easily our offensive linemen get dealt with by these bigger defensive linemen. We have no power at the point of attack from Runyon, and I'm not just saying in the run game, in the passing game, Runyon, JMS, and even GVR.
I agree on that play that he's blindsided. I'm not gonna, but overall throughout the game, you're 100% right. I think this is the play you were referencing before. Quarter 3, 13-10 left, 3rd and 4. Russell Wilson just dropped his eyes a little bit too early. Like, he throws with anticipation here. Wan'Dale Robinson is open.
That's the one I was talking about, right? And I don't get it. He had this earlier in the game. Why is he not as confident in this? Just anticipate this throw, and it's another first down completion. Instead, we're punting.
I have no idea. And look, I don't know if this is on like Theo Johnson does stuff like this where he'll run and initiate the contact, but could this be called defensive? Because he kind of like drags Theo Johnson down, but Theo Johnson also runs him over.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't call that.
I wouldn't call it either. But you could see, like, get the football to Wan'Dale Robinson right now. What are you doing, Russell Wilson?
I don't know what he's processing here. And even in a worst case scenario where for some reason he doesn't like it, instead of trying to like run forward here, reset the pocket a little bit, and then you'll have Theo Johnson wide open.
I know. And you could see that too. Like this is why he looks to the center of the field first. And he sees this safety in the middle of the field step down. He buzzes down, meaning it's a 2v2 to that side. If you don't like what you see from Wan'Dale, you know you have Theo Johnson.
Yes. And why is that not going through his head?
And the worst
either way, he should like what he sees from Wan'Dale, because that's an easy completion.
100%. That's why it's a colossal failure by Russell Wilson on this specific play. A 3rd down, high leverage situation in a game that's still winnable, even though the Giants, you know what I mean? So, and it's just frustrating because Theo Johnson, the worst you could do here is maybe you get a defensive holding penalty if you throw the football up to your 6'6" tight end against this smaller defender. Like, that's the worst that can happen. And he just doesn't, instead he tries to run and there's just really nowhere to go. There's not even a hole there. And this is something that a lot of people are chastising John Michael Schmitz. And I would like for him to hold this block up, obviously. The guy just spins off right in. Like, that's not a great play. I'm wondering if he thought GVR was there. He shouldn't, because it's a 2v2 to that side. So it's a bad play by JMS. But I don't know why Russ thought he had this hole. I guess he sees it right here. But you have that defender coming in with this one. Just throw the football, man.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Here's a 1st and 10, quarter 3, 7:04. There's just nothing over the middle of the field here. Look, nothing. Nothing is over the middle of the field. Everything is outside the hashes and even outside the numbers almost, other than the Wan'Dale hitch. And Russell Wilson gets spun around in the pocket and he just throws it away.
Yep.
Because again, the protection here, like, the pocket's still intact when he spins out of it, but there's nothing that there's nowhere to throw the football in the middle of the field because there's no routes breaking over the middle of the field. And it looks like Russell opens up to his right, the field side, and he doesn't like what he sees at all. Just cover 2 defense with them carrying too. It's just, yeah, man. I don't know if you have anything on that, but.
No, it's just frustrating. I mean, I don't expect that to change by any means. I don't think while Russell is the quarterback, we're going to really utilize the middle of the field as a passing game. I mentioned it last night. It's very frustrating to me that we have more areas of the field that we can't use.
Absolutely, man. And the Giants started finding some success by throwing this slot fade. And it was to the field side. Russ will throw these field side balls, and I do appreciate that. Slot fade, field side, all the way to the sideline. Keep that. This is the 2nd consecutive one they ran, too.
While getting hit.
Yeah, he got clobbered on this play. He got hit.
It might have helped him. I think it allowed him to underthrow it, which allowed Nabers to come back to it.
I think you're right. I do think you're right. But nobody picks him up, and oh my gosh.
This may be on Russ too for not setting the protection. I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I think this is just a well-designed blitz where the Giants weren't in a 5-man protection package. So you have 3 guys. You have 3 over 3 with the blitzer. So it ends up being 4/3. So math is just going to be on the side of Washington.
Yeah.
He just runs. And then this is something Wink Martindale used to do, right? Attack the B gap.
Yep.
He always used to say that, Wink Martindale, attack the B gap, send your edge rusher wide, attack the B gap, put a 1 and a 2 just to occupy the center and the guard. And if the Giants or the opposing offense decides not to run a 5-man protection, Dan, this is going to happen. Or, if they do decide to run a 5-man protection, this is going to happen. You can see Tyrone Tracy releases in the route. So this is a positive play by Russell Wilson and a great play by Malik Nabers to go up and catch the football.
Yeah, good adjustment by him.
Absolutely. And that was the second consecutive slot fade. They tried it on the previous play as well. Here's another, this might be one of the better plays and better throws by Russell Wilson. Under center, 12 personnel, double Y set, field side throw. Just Malik Nabers winning on his route, throws with anticipation. You could see he's already released the football. Malik Nabers hasn't even turned back yet. And then Malik Nabers just does Malik Nabers things and makes the catch.
Yeah, so excellent play by Nabers. And one of the rare times we were able to actually use what is, Jacob Gibbs on my Beyond the Box Score show always calls a cheat code for NFL play callers. And it's a cheat code because all the data suggests it. When you run play action in the NFL, you have a much better chance of succeeding than when you don't run play action. And this was finally a play action shot play that worked.
Yeah, because the Giants
run a lot of play action, dude, from under center.
Yeah, no, they didn't. The Giants were in like an 8-man protection again. This was, I think, the second or third time they did that. Like, just slow this rush down. This is when you're just like, we need the one-on-one win. Like, you need to win your route, Malik Nabers, because they're deep safety, middle of the field close win, and he did. Good man coverage win. And then the last play we're going to go over, quarter 4, about 3 minutes left, 1st and goal. Right after this, boop, we already saw this. This is the Daniel Bellinger is going to be in the flat play that a lot of people were highlighting, and they put it on. And I don't like the screenshot type stuff. Look, Bellinger's open here, but it looks like Russ comes off right at the point where the underneath defender goes inward because the running back went, and Russ just didn't have his eyes on Daniel Bellinger at that point. So I'm not going to not severely, because there was 4 was in, because Frankie Louvu was a football player. So it's becoming a Frankie Louvu stands podcast over here. So you could see him kind of in that passing lane, but maybe Russ, you could say Russ should anticipate him breaking on the running back. I think that's, a little bit tough to say, but I just wanted to put this play in here just because a lot of people were giving him shit for it.
Yeah. And there's a few plays I do want to run. So this was the most frustrating play of the game for me, Nick. And the reason why is because I talked all offseason about watch Russell Wilson tape with the Steelers. He really gave them an edge with those 3-step drops, those quick drops, diagnose pre-snap that you have the one-on-one, put air under the football, put that moon ball out there, let the receiver run under it. And it worked a lot in Pittsburgh. He was the most efficient deep ball thrower in the NFL. Also, it worked when Tyrod was here. And it worked really well. We were the number 1 most explosive pass rate team in the NFL during Tyrod's tenure. Here we have an example of it, a perfect situation. And Russ just doesn't put any air under the ball here. He underthrows it, and it's an incomplete pass. This could be a game-changing play. It not only could be, it should be. He diagnoses this right. The safety takes a step down, takes 2 steps down. He has Nabers is still running right now. If he just puts air under this football in any direction, he could throw it inside. He could throw it with a perfect, placement on the outside shoulder. It doesn't really matter. Nabers will run under it, or he will get held and pass interfered with, and it'll be a touchdown. And for some reason, Russ just doesn't execute it. And
it would change the game. That was an early play. That was a play early in the first half that could have changed the game. And Russell Wilson underthrew. You're right, man. Like you gotta be better, Russell. Well, that's why the Giants brought you in, is to execute and make plays like that. And that's inexcusable to underthrow the one time you don't have a safety over the top and you get the one-on-one matchup outside with Malik Nabers.
Yeah, and I'll run another play just like that one that had me really frustrated with Russell Wilson. Here's another one. This is not that example that I'm talking about, but I don't know if you're showing. Are we seeing this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another one. 3-step drop. Why is it so underthrown? Like, during the preseason, this dude hit Bo Collins on an 80-yard pass that traveled like 65 yards in the air. Now, from midfield, it's not even a far hash throw, or it is a far hash throw. It's actually from the far hash. Sorry about that. He has to underthrow the ball, and it's underthrown and inside. If he leads that toward the pylon, this is another potential touchdown for Malik Nabers. And this is just what I was expecting to get, Nick. I wasn't expecting to miss these throws very often, because honestly, he didn't miss these a lot with Pittsburgh. Remember the Monday night game against the Steelers-Giants last year? He hit Pickens on some dime throws that were as difficult, if not more difficult, than this one.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. It's a little grainy on my end, so
Okay.
apologies to the audience if it ends up that
Hopefully
way
you
as
could
well.
see that.
But yeah, it was a deep shot that was underthrown and led a little bit too close to the sidelines where you still had that one-on-one matchup for Malik Nabers. And the Giants went with the number 2 and the number 1 vert there to create that one-on-one. And again, it didn't yield anything for the New York Giants other than incomplete pass.
And here's one that I was referencing earlier, if we can run it real quick. This is just an example of just Russ not being able to see the middle of the field. He has to, in my opinion, find a way to hit Wan'Dale Robinson here on the back shoulder. I understand there's an underneath defender. I totally see that. But the safety's dropping the depth. It's a back shoulder throw that you can hit with a lot of space there. But to me, his eyes are just strictly on the first read here, which is the tight end. And then after that, what does he do? He just looks off to run, and he ends up flipping the ball out there. But it's not a solution that gets us any yards here. So I didn't like that one. And then finally, this one that I put on Twitter a little bit earlier, man. He bails from the pocket here. This is the one I referenced earlier. I don't think this is a pocket that you need to bail for. I'm going to pause this video real quick, Nick, to show what I'm talking about when he decides to bail. He decides to bail here. This is where he decides to bail. Someone on Twitter mentioned his interior was getting pushed back. I don't see that. I see a lot of space there. All I see is potentially Hudson at some point maybe losing that block, but not losing that block. And if he can anticipate this thing right, man, like he has Darius Slayton, like he should be able to read that safety coming down to take the over route and just stay in the pocket, reset the pocket, and fire that moon ball over the top to Slayton. It's another potential touchdown.
Yeah, it certainly is, man. And there was a lot of missed opportunities like that.
And that's what I nailed Daniel Jones for, and we nailed him for on this podcast. So if I'm going to sit here and criticize Daniel for that, I have to sit here and criticize Russ and any other quarterback who plays football for the Giants, as I promised I would, and I am doing right now. And I'll admit it, I am overly harsh and critical about quarterbacks. I understand it's a really tough job. I understand that it's not easy for him to reset that pocket. But to me, it looked like he had been beaten down all game, and he had just bailed from a pocket that there's just no sense in bailing from that pocket.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you're 100% right. And I understand why you're so tough on quarterbacks, because you watch like the Sunday Night Football game and you see players like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. You're like, holy crap, the stuff they do. Now, obviously, the infrastructure around those two players, it's much better overall than the New York Giants, but you can see how they just have answers and how they provide a winning atmosphere and give their teams opportunities to win football games against massive adversity, as we saw last night with Josh Allen specifically.
Yep. And this is the final thing I want to wrap the show up on, Nick. You mentioned you had like a little bit of a hot take to start the show. I have a take. It's not a hot take. So I'm thinking about like what the Giants entered week 1 with and the whole plan. And it just seems to make less sense to me the more I think about it. If you bring in Russell Wilson, right, the objective has to be to run a similar offense to what he found success with the Steelers and the Seahawks. And what is that? It's a run-heavy offense with heavy play action, deep shots, and then outside the number hole shots. That's an impossible task if your offensive line can't run block. And this offensive line never proved, even at their best stretch last year, that they can block the run game consistently. They didn't add anyone in the offseason on the offensive line, but they did, however, pass block well in 2024 before Thomas got hurt. And so why is this so confusing to me? It's because it seems so clear to me from a logical standpoint that they should have simply went with Jameis Winston and Jackson Dart as their quarterbacks. And they didn't know they were going to be able to draft Dart. Fine. But they should have simply went with Jameis Winston as their quarterback, because Jameis Winston is not going to need an under the center, run heavy offense that relies on you generating stuff in the run game so you can hit the play action passes. He's going to be able to go into the gun, process the middle of the field, throw with a hell of a lot more anticipation than Russell Wilson, and actually run that gun spread heavy offense with RPOs and all the things we saw from Dart in the preseason. And then if not, you go to Dart. And so I just don't understand what's happening here other than Daboll and Schoen saying, you know what, throwing out all the ideas of how to fit the offense and just saying, I want the proven veteran with Ross, right? I want the veteran presence in here. Yeah. And it just doesn't make any sense when you can't block the run to have this offense that we tried to trot out there, because it just puts Russell Wilson in a really bad spot.
Yeah. And I think they're learning that right now. And you know, Brian Daboll today confirmed that Russell Wilson will start in week 2. If it's the same result, I don't know if he's going to come out in week 3 and be like, yeah, in prime time, he's going to start against the Kansas City Chiefs.
And they might go to Dart, but like ultimately, I think what you said yesterday I agree. It should be Jameis. Until Thomas is playing at the very minimum, it should be Jameis. And it should have been Jameis, honestly, to start, because they could have ran a different offense. I am beyond sold, Nick, that we would have scored more points and been more competent on offense yesterday or Sunday with Jameis Winston starting at quarterback. I don't even need to think, because I know the offense would just be different, dude. We'd be running more tempo. We'd be running more gun. He'd be using the middle of the field. He'd be hitting in breakers. It'd be a different type of defense. Sorry, a different type of offense for Washington to defend. They wouldn't have, you know how we said earlier in this podcast, it seemed like Washington was in tune with everything we were doing, and it seemed like we were very predictable to them. That wouldn't have been the case with Dart or Jameis at quarterback, because they would be running a very different offense than anything we showed during the Daniel Jones years and anything Russell Wilson has been able to do. And that to me stands out, because I don't think the run blocking is going to improve at any point this season. I think we're stuck with one of the worst run blocking units in the NFL. And if that's the case, I want to run tempo. I want to run gun. I want to run spread. I want to let the quarterbacks dictate and have these one-on-one matchups, put these guys in space, put these DBs in space, these third corners on a team, or these nickel corners, or put a linebacker in space and have it spread out. We did it sometimes. Like, I saw Russ go to empty a couple times and have some success with it. Not amazing success, but some success. It's going to be limited with Russ. He can't see the middle of the field. But with Jameis and Dart, like, it gives me fuel, Nick, to at least say, yeah, I don't want to put Dart behind this offensive line with Hudson. But at the same time, I honestly think Dart could maybe move the offense a little bit better, even with Hudson at tackle, because at least it's a different style of offense. What we're doing right now makes no sense when you have a bad run blocking offensive line.
And Dart actually has shown a pocket presence that,
right.
Like, again, I'm not going to say it's better than Russell Wilson. It was better than what we've seen from Russell Wilson yesterday, for sure. Russell Wilson is an accomplished veteran, of course, and
last year when he took 1 million sacks.
Yeah, absolutely. So taking the more athletic player and throwing him to the fire, it might not be as bad as a lot of people are suggesting. I want to make sure and ensure that he is ready to do that. And I think Jameis, as I said yesterday, is that perfect bridge to give Dart the time if the Giants feel like he needs the time, and you need to spark the offense because Russell Wilson just is not getting it done.
Yeah, and I wish that what I originally said this offseason had come true. They just signed Jameis. They saved that $11 million or whatever it was on Russ, and they used it on an offensive lineman. And quite frank, I wish we didn't use that money on Javon Holland. I don't feel good about that signing at all. We'll figure out what happens there. Maybe. And just whenever you do these safety signings, to me, it's very, very risky, to be quite frank. And I did like what Daboll showed on tape. So that one I feel better about.
And it sucks too, man, because the Giants drafted not that long ago, 2 good safeties, like 2 good starting safeties. The Giants drafted, and they let them both walk out the door.
And you were right, by the way. I'll give you full credit on Julian Love. I thought he's been played much better since going to Seattle. It's another example of a player who's been better since he left this freaking.
I thought he was good as a Giant. I'm a big.
Julian Love. Did. I wasn't as high on him. Yeah. But I think what I've seen of him in Seattle has been really, really strong. But yeah, man, it's very frustrating for me. Let's finish up. Let's wrap up with our superlatives like we do every one of these film podcasts for those who are new to the show. So I'm going to give you unheralded player on tape.
Yeah, my unheralded player. I thought about going with Cam Scadaboo. I did, but I did not, just because it was a small sample size. So I ended up going with Daniel Bellinger. Daniel Bellinger's unheralded player. I felt like he threw a bunch of good blocks. That's who you went with as well. So originally I had Cam Scadaboo in there just because of the pass protection and then the catch on the sidelines where he leveled somebody, but it just wasn't involved enough. Whereas Daniel played a little bit more, and I felt like I feel like the story of Daniel Bellinger's career as a New York Giant is just being unheralded by his own coaching staff even. So I'm going to give him his flowers here.
Not only did he execute in the run game, he caught the only pass that was thrown to him. And as he
the
always
only pass over the middle of the field.
The only pass we've tried over the middle of the field, as he always does. His catch rate with the Giants is like 90% or something insane like that. And I'll be honest with you, Nick, when I see Chris Manhertz miss a block like the one I saw, I lose faith in the point of Chris Manhertz. I know he's a big fan. You're a big fan of his. I'm not a Manhertz guy. I think when he's on the field, we are one-dimensional. We're tipping off the defense what we're doing. It's a disaster from that standpoint in my mind, and I just don't think he's as good of a blocker. I know you do, and you see the film better than I do, so I'll defer to you on that. But I would personally be perfectly fine giving 90 to 95% of the snaps we're allocating for Manhertz all to Bellinger.
And it's not like, and this is, like, I love Chris Manhertz. I think he's a good football player. Now, I didn't see anything yesterday that makes me be like, yeah, that's why we have him, right? So you need to see a little bit more from an effectiveness point of view. But he's solid enough to lose slow enough, as we like to say with tight ends, against like 270, 280 pound.
Yeah, he's got the frame for it. And Bellinger doesn't have the frame to do those kind of blocks. I agree.
And I agree, but it's not like you're losing a ton with Daniel Bell. Like, I think it is a pretty significant step down because Manhertz is that much of a good blocker, but Daniel Bellinger is still, I would say, at least a slightly above average blocker for a
Yes.
tight end in the National Football League.
And he's a better move blocker than he is at the end of the line of scrimmage. So I totally understand what you're saying. Like from a frame standpoint, he can't do the things Manners can do. But I will say this, when Dart is eventually the quarterback of this team, which could come at any point, Bellinger is going to be someone who he can use over the middle field, because we saw Dart use Dulcich like that over the middle of the field. So it'll be more important for me to have Bellinger on that line of scrimmage rather than Manners, because at least with Bellinger, I know that Dart can take advantage of that and hit him in those spots.
And he's tenacious too. That's another thing I love about Daniel Bellinger. Like once he gets his hands on you, when he's on the move, his feet are driving until the whistle. 100%. I love that about him.
He deserves to play more. He should be playing more. I don't care that the coaching staff doesn't appreciate him. I know what it is. And I know when Dart is the quarterback, it'll be way more, to me, it will be way more valuable to have a receiving tight end on the field, because he actually uses the middle of the field, unlike Russ.
And I know it's really early here, but I maybe I'm just like, I want to see it. Like, let's see some more from Theo here. Like, let's start to put it together a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, too. I mean,
this is somebody getting like, what, 80% of the snaps over guys like Daniel Bellinger, and it's just like there's frustrating mistakes. It's just, I know there's a lot of potential there, but we're not.
Another example of Schoen just pigeonholing his guys in that he drafted to premium spots, and they have to prove themselves right. They have to prove themselves right. But Neil, they bring in no guard competition this offseason. It's a lot of proving themselves right. They did it with Daniel in the past and all sorts of players that they've signed or drafted here. And it just is what it is. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked out yet on offense. Best throw of the game. I have, unfortunately, we have the same one here.
Yeah, the Wandale drop on the slot fade. Like, I want Wandale Robinson. It was a dime, though. That was like probably the only dime.
But we ran that one. We should have.
No, yeah. I did not run that one. That's dumb on my part. Yeah, it was a perfectly placed. I actually did put it on Twitter too.
That was the Russ I thought we would get all game. That throw.
And again, this is like the Wandale Robinson conundrum that the Giants find themselves in, right? It's like, you got to secure that, man. I know it's like he ends up leaving his feet to die, but the only reason he has to do that is because he has Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. Yeah.
Otherwise, he could catch that in stride. It might be a touch. Same thing goes for the other one. It was a little bit of an overthrow and a little hot from Russ. But if that's not Wandale Robinson running that route, that might be a touchdown. The one that he hit him on that fade, that slot route, or that vertical route. I don't remember exactly what it was.
I like
outstretch for and catch.
I like attempting to get him going vertically to add another element to his game, but like it puts so much on the quarterback. The quarterback needs to be so precise, right? And he's at his best, Wandale, where you just get him the football and allow him to have a little bit of space. And he looks very explosive. Like, to me, when he has football, he looks explosive, like a tough guy to track down.
And I'll say this as we head into, it's way too early for this, dog, but next offseason is going to be all about offense, man. We're going to need to draft receivers. We're going to need to draft offensive linemen. We need to spend on both positions in free agency. Just going to have an onslaught at that point and just improve defensive coordinator. I'm okay with the defensive talent. I mean, dude, we have huge contracts for Bobby Okereke and Holland, and they're just not making plays to make up for what we're paying those players right now. It's only one game for Holland, obviously. I don't want to rule him out, but like it did not like what I saw from 8 out there. Honestly, I didn't think Newbin made that many plays either. And maybe it's just Bowen's fault for how he's utilizing these players. Some other things here, best player on tape.
Yeah, so Malik Nabers, I'd say, Dan, but it wasn't his best game.
That's fair. Not his best game, but he made. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't really know who else to go with.
Yeah, right. There's literally no one who played great on tape on offense. It was easily Nabers. Nabers made a great catch. The couple we showed, that one where he had to extend over his body. That was a phenomenal hands catch. And just had some unbelievable routes. The 2 that we showed where he just created insane separation. One where the ball came to him. The other where I believe the ball didn't, or it did, but Russ got hit because James Hudson blew the block. So yeah, it was Nabers by far, though. Wasn't his best game, but it was still a good game, I thought. Player we expected to see more from on tape.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I would go with Russell Wilson. There's a number of players who could probably fit this billing. Russell Wilson, though, is by far and away the most. Theo, somebody you mentioned as well. Pass blocking grade 1 through 10.
I had a 3.1. Wasn't good. It should be lower probably because the inability to execute the 4-man stunts, which is just maddening. But there were also pockets where Russell Wilson made the offensive line look worse too.
I agree. So I had 3.7 because of that last point you made. I thought Russell was a culprit a lot for the offensive line at times, at least. Run blocking 1 through 10.
1.1. That's just like, I don't even, that might even be too high. It was.
I had 0.3.
Yeah, it was dreadful.
Even the plays that were blocked well by the majority of the line, there was one culprit who screwed up the play. And that, to me, doesn't deserve a positive grade because it ruined the play and it became a negative play. I thought almost everything was Tracy doing it on his own, or Singletary doing it on his own, or Scadaboo doing it on his own, individually speaking. So big nightmare there from a run blocking standpoint. I am so nervous about our run blocking for the rest of the season. But that's what we have for today. Thank you so much for listening to the Big Blue Banter podcast. Hopefully positive times are ahead. I hope. I mean, that's just pure hope at this point. But thank you for sticking with us, leaving a comment and a rating and a review. And please, please, please hit the like button if you haven't already. We really need to. We're putting up tape on this and we're breaking down tape. I feel like it's as good as it gets. Unfortunately, it's not good tape, but maybe one day it will be. So stick with us and eventually you'll be there for that. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk to you soon with the defensive film review.